Hello everyone, welcome to the first episode which deals with the rules of grammar. In this episode, we will talk about a very important rule of grammar and sentence construction, the paragraphing. As we all know that paragraphing occupies a very important place in any piece of writing. So in this episode, we are going to talk about it extensively. I am Sakshi Mandwal and our subject expert for today's episode is Miss Saba Tariq, lecturer for English at Jamia Hamdard University. After watching this episode, the student will be able to enhance their skill of making sentences by using the correct methods of paragraphing, to strengthen their knowledge of the basic structure and content of various kinds of paragraphs, to expand and improve the skills of writing English correctly by using the appropriate technique of forming a paragraph. Paragraphing and its importance. Paragraphing is the process of dividing and structuring a paper into paragraphs. Paragraphs exist as a visual way to separate the main ideas of a paper and are therefore essential to establish a clear flow of ideas within a piece of writing. Indeed, the reason writers do not structure papers as one long paragraph is obvious. Doing so would be immensely confusing for the reader and would clutter his or her mind with too many ideas. Thus, effective paragraphing and paragraph construction ensures that the main ideas of a paper are clearly separated, logically organized, and explicitly connected to the central argument of the paper. The ultimate goal is to create an effective paper, one that is clear and reader-friendly.
A paragraph by itself contains one specific idea. Normally we use paragraphs to write an essay or to have a longish write-up. Any essay or a write-up or a lengthy write-up would have a collection of paragraphs. So essentially, as a writer, you are addressing the core idea which you wish to develop by way of a longish write-up or an essay, for which you would need to organize your ideas in a manner that they look logical, they look sequential, they have organization, and they display unity. In order to present one specific idea or a proposition, you need to support that idea and proposition, for which you will have to start working in a manner that you end up supporting that specific idea or proposition, for which you would need to provide adequate supporting details. So, the detailing of ideas are possible only through paragraphs. So, paragraph writing becomes extremely important.
What is a paragraph? A paragraph is a series of sentences used to develop or express one topic or main idea. A paragraph, from the Greek paragraphos, to write beside or written beside, is a self-contained unit of a discourse in writing dealing with a particular point or idea. A paragraph can consist of 3 or more sentences. Though not required by the syntax of any language, paragraphs are usually an expected part of formal writing, used to organize longer prose. History and orthography of paragraph. The oldest classical Greek and Latin writing had little or no spaces between words and could be written in boustrophedon, alternating directions. Over time, text direction left to right became standardized, and word dividers and terminal punctuation became common. The first way to divide sentences into groups was the original paragraphos, similar to an underscore at the beginning of the new group. The Greek paragraphos evolved into the pilcro, which in English manuscripts in the Middle Ages can be seen inserted in line between sentences. The hedera leaf has also been used in the same way. In ancient manuscripts, another means to divide sentences into paragraphs was a line break, new line, followed by an initial at the beginning of the next paragraph. An initial is an oversized capital letter, sometimes outdented beyond the margin of text. This style can be seen, for example, in the original Old English manuscript of Beowulf. Outdenting is still used in English typography, though not commonly. Initials and rubrication were used in the Gutenberg Bible, the first major book to be printed rather than handwritten. Modern English typography usually indicates a new paragraph by indenting the first line. This style can be seen in the handwritten United States Constitution from 1787. For additional ornamentation, a hedera leaf or other symbol can be added to the interparagraph white space or put in the indentation space. A second common modern English style is use no indenting, but add vertical white space to create block paragraphs. On a typewriter, a double carriage return produces a blank line for this purpose. Professional typesetters may put in an arbitrary vertical space by adjusting leading. This style is very common in electronic formats such as on the World Wide Web and email. Paragraph purpose. Start by thinking about the one main idea that you want your paragraph to express. Focusing on one main idea will give the paragraph unity and coherence, qualities readers expect in polished academic writing. As you write, you may find that you begin discussing a new idea within a paragraph and that it should be divided into two separate paragraphs. Each paragraph should have a clear purpose in furthering your argument. For example, if you are comparing and contrasting the writing styles of three authors, you would need paragraphs that discuss either each author or each stylistic element. Other purposes that paragraphs might fulfill include illustrating one idea with examples, narration of a process, definition of a key word or phrase, classification into categories, cause and effect, or presenting an analogy. Reasons of starting a new paragraph. There are many different reasons for starting a new paragraph. Number 1. Structural reasons. Introduction. The introduction to a paper should be a separate paragraph from the rest of the paper. However, the introduction may be more than one paragraph long. Introducing a new idea or change in topic. A new paragraph should start whenever you introduce a new idea into the paper or whenever the topic of the paper changes. If the paragraph develops a new reason or point about the paper's thesis, change paragraphs. Change paragraphs whenever you need. However, don't change paragraphs for narrative that describes the location or time or point that the dialogue is developing. Don't change paragraphs if the dialogue is from the speaker, unless that speaker changes topic or location or space within the dialogue. Example. Fran tried to convince David that he was ill enough to go to the hospital. You need a transfusion today, she said. You're getting white and shaky. Your T cell count must be terribly low. I'm fine, just leave me alone. David, you're not fine. I can practically see your veins through your skin. You just fell getting out of the chair. Do you remember John Taylor? I used to date him before I met Craig. He was a good man. I even thought that I loved him for a while. He's dead now, you know. What are you getting at? What does John Taylor have to do with my going to the hospital? He died of AIDS. Change paragraph when you change time or place in a narration. E. Transition. In some papers, you may want a short paragraph as a transition between two specific sections of a paper. Such paragraphs usually occur in longer papers, but they may also prove helpful in short papers. These paragraphs will often make a brief summary of the first section and explain briefly the relationship between that section and the section to come. The paragraphs are short and are not intended to develop a new point. F. Conclusion. The conclusion belongs to a separate paragraph. Unless the paper is very long, keep conclusions to one paragraph. Number 2. Sometimes style will demand that you start a new paragraph. The learners should keep the following points in mind while beginning a new paragraph. Begin a new paragraph in order to emphasize an important idea or statement. A new paragraph automatically draws attention to itself by being indented. Therefore, to draw attention to an idea or example, separate that idea or example into a new paragraph. However, be careful that you don't overuse this reason for paragraphing. Anytime a device is overused, it loses its effectiveness to draw attention. Start a new paragraph to emphasize a long example or set of facts. If an example is detailed and becomes lengthy, set it apart in a paragraph by itself so that its details don't run together with other details. Sometimes you may want to paragraph the analysis away from the example. If the analysis itself is lengthy and keeping its same paragraph with the example will weaken the example or the analysis. Components of a paragraph. After you have roughly determined the overall structure of your piece, work on each individual paragraph. Paragraphs generally include the following elements. Number 1. Topic sentence. It may help you draft your paragraph by composing a highly explicit topic sentence as the first sentence in the paragraph, and it helps your readers to quickly and easily understand your main idea if you let the sentence stand through the revision process. However, having an explicit topic sentence can seem contrived or formulaic. Once you develop the paragraph more fully, your topic may be implicit but nevertheless clear to your audience. When revising, decide if you need the explicit topic sentence and if so, if it should appear first in the middle or at the end of your paragraph. Number 2. Support for the main idea. The rest of the paragraph should be devoted to explaining or developing the main idea of the paragraph. Give examples and evidence to support your point. Number 3. Relevance to your thesis. In addition to explaining the main idea, connect it to your thesis. Explain why the main idea matters or fits into the overall argument you are trying to make. Answer the implicit "so what?" questions buzzing around in the readers' heads by directly telling them why you spent so much time and space developing one point. Number 4. Transition. It usually helps your reader follow the flow of your argument if you include a transitional phrase or word at the beginning of each paragraph or at the end of the preceding paragraph. You may need to incorporate these into your paragraphs after you organize the paper because the order in which paragraphs occur may affect which transition is appropriate. For example, you might have one paragraph that deals with the cause and one that deals with an effect, and these may occur in either order in your final draft. Your transition would depend on the order in which they appear. For examples of transitional words and phrases, see the UWC handout on transitions. Revising your paragraphs. Begin by reading a draft of your paper and evaluating the paper's argument. Start by underlining each paragraph's topic sentence or writing the main idea if the topic is implicit. Does each paragraph have one main idea or many? If there are too many ideas in one paragraph, separate them into different paragraphs, each with its own main idea. Next, make sure that you have sufficiently developed the main idea of each paragraph. Is any important information left out? Can you think of anything the reader might wonder while reading your paper? If yes, add the missing content to your paper to enhance and clarify your explanations. In addition to sufficiently developing your main points, cut out extraneous information. This is very important. If there are sentences in your paragraph that do not directly relate to its topic, do one of the three things. Number 1, explicitly connect them to the topic. Number 2, move them into a paragraph where they belong. Number 3, remove them. In the process of revising, you may even discover that entire paragraphs need to be omitted. Last but not the least, remember to connect the main idea to the overall thesis of the paper. This way, the reader knows exactly why each paragraph matters and that each serves to further your argument. Importance of writing structured paragraphs. In academic writing, effective paragraphs serve as building blocks to construct a complex analysis or argument. Paragraphing helps readers to understand and process your ideas into meaningful units of thought. What do paragraphs do? Imagine reading this page without paragraph breaks. Paragraphs create order and logic by helping your reader recognize the boundaries where one point ends and another begins. How long should a paragraph be? In a first draft, it may make sense to set a goal for length. For example, you can set a goal of writing 4 to 6 sentences per paragraph. In that number of sentences, you can announce an idea, prove that idea with evidence, and explain why this evidence matters by linking it to the overall goal of your paper. In the final version of your paper, you may have a shorter paragraph or two. Short paragraphs call a lot of attention to themselves, so they can effectively emphasize a point. Too many short paragraphs, however, may indicate that your ideas are not developed with evidence and analysis. You will generally read and write longer paragraphs in academic papers. However, too many long paragraphs can provide readers with too much information to manage at one time. Readers need planned pauses or breaks when reading long, complex papers in order to understand your presented ideas. Remember this writing mantra: give your readers a break, or good paragraphs give one pause. Kinds of sentences. Thinking about paragraphs rigidly in terms of length may lead to formulaic writing. Instead, as you revise your draft, think about how each sentence is functioning in your paragraph and whether your paragraph has sufficient functional sentences to make its point. Transition sentences guides your readers smoothly from the topic of the preceding paragraph into the topic of your new paragraph. Writers sometimes begin with the transition sentence before introducing the topic of the new paragraph. A topic sentence states the main idea of a paragraph. Beginning a paragraph with the topic sentence ensures your reader recognizes early in the paragraph what larger idea the paragraph is going to demonstrate. Expert writers may not introduce the topic until the middle or end of the paragraph and often imply their topics without ever writing a topic sentence. Body sentences develop the topic of the paragraph. These sentences work to analyze data or quotations, describe a text or event, set up a comparison, showcase evidence, and sometimes they enumerate the logical points for readers to give them a sense of a paper's bigger picture. In body sentences, you need to consider how much quoted data or evidence will demonstrate or prove your point. Linking sentences relate back to the paper's main argument by showing how the idea of that paragraph matches the overall goal of the paper. Concluding sentences may bring a section to its end before you move on to a new section of the paper. Coherence and unity. Coherence literally means to stick together. Coherence in paragraph writing means that all of the ideas in a paragraph support the topic sentence of your paragraph and allow the reader to easily understand the ideas you want to express. Paragraph coherence can be achieved by using major and minor connectors. These are also called transitions.
Unity is understood in terms of arguing in favor of the topic sentence. In other words, a paragraph in terms of unity begins with a topic sentence. What is this topic sentence? This topic sentence is essentially a controlling idea that controls the overall paragraph. In other words, there would be supporting sentences following the topic sentence which would reinforce the main idea propounded or put forth in the topic sentence. Other sentences in a paragraph are supporting sentences.
Major connectors. Major connectors help organize the main points of your paragraph. These can also be expressed as bulleted or numbered lists. Examples: first, second, third, finally. In conclusion, to summarize. Minor connectors. Minor connectors provide coherence to a paragraph by connecting the sentences within each of the main parts of your paragraph. Examples: in addition, others include, but, also, that is, for example, for instance. Paragraph unity means that the paragraph is about only one main idea or topic. All the sentences in the paragraph, topic, supporting, detail sentences, and sometimes the conclusion sentences, are telling the reader about one main topic or idea. If you have a sentence that is not directly related to your main topic, your paragraph is considered to lack unity, or the sentence is off topic and should be removed from the paragraph. Capitalization rules in paragraphing. Number 1. Capitalize the first word of every sentence. Number 2. I is always capitalized along with all its contractions. Example: I can do it. I'll do it tomorrow. I'm going to do it now. Number 3. Capitalize the first word of a quoted sentence. For example, she said, I can do this. Number 4. Capitalize a proper noun. For example, Eiffel Tower, Christopher Knight, Federal Bureau of Investigation. Number 5. Capitalize a person's title when it precedes the name. For example, Dr. Smith, Professor Asad Ali, Captain Rathore, etc. Exceptions: Mr. Smith, the doctor at the hospital, came to check up on me. 6. Capitalize any title when used as a direct address. Example: will you please answer the question, Senator? Number 7. Do not capitalize names of seasons. Number 8. Capitalize points of the compass only when they refer to specific regions. Example: I have relatives visiting from the south. Number 9. After a sentence ending with a colon, do not capitalize the first word if it begins a list. Example: these are my favorite foods: chicken, potatoes and bread. Number 10. Capitalize the first word and all the words in titles of books, articles, works of art, etc., excluding short prepositions and conjunctions. Example: Green Earth Publications, the Holy Bible. Subject and verb agreement. Number 1. Number agreement. A singular subject takes a singular verb. A plural subject takes a plural verb. Example: this radio has 6 preset buttons. Singular. Most radios have 6 preset buttons. Plural. Number 2. Person agreement. A subject should also agree in person, first person perspective, etc. with the subject. Note: this affects only third person singular subjects in the present tense. Example: he runs to the store. The table looks warped. Note: the verb to be is an auxiliary verb and has 8 forms. A. Present tense: am, is, are. Example: I am hungry. We are hungry. B. Past tense: was, were. Example: I was hungry. We were hungry. C. Infinitive past participle and present participle. Be, been, being. Example: he has yet to be identified. He had been to my sister. He was being mean to my sister. Note: an agreement problem can occur when the verb of a sentence precedes the subject. Example: Wrong. There were several writers waiting for their articles to be approved. Right. There were several writers waiting for their articles to be approved. Comma and colon tips. Commas. Everyone has their own style when it comes to comma usage. Most modern style guides now recommend using fewer commas rather than more, but be wary of run-on sentences. Number 1. The use of a comma before and in a series is usually optional, provided there is no danger of misreading. Example: we have apple, comma, orange and grape juices. No comma. We have apple, comma, orange, comma, and strawberry and grape juices, comma. Strawberry and orange is one flavor. Therefore, a comma is needed to avoid confusion. Number 2. Use a comma after an introductory phrase or clause. Example: after I realized that the store had not applied my discount voucher to my purchase, comma, I returned to the store and customer service credited my account. Colons. The colon focuses the reader on what is to follow. Use it to introduce a list or idea. Colon should only be used within a sentence after an independent clause. Example: we visited 3 cities during our vacations, colon, San Diego, Los Angeles and Santa Barbara. Conclusion. Thus, in this episode, we talked about the definition and meaning of paragraph and paragraphing, importance of paragraphing, different reasons for starting a new paragraph, components of a paragraph, different kinds of sentences in a paragraph, coherence and unity in a paragraph, rules of capitalization in a paragraph, subject-verb agreement, and comma and colon tips in paragraphing. All these rules should be understood clearly by the reader that accurate paragraphing is very important while writing any text. The learner should keep the above mentioned rules in mind while making a paragraph to eradicate confusion and to fulfill the purpose for which he is writing a paragraph. In the next episode, we will talk about the adjectives and adverbs. That's all for today. Thank you and goodbye.